talk to you today about some pregnancy nutrition. So thanks so much for joining us for Buns in the Ovens today. It's just me today. Like I said, we're going to be talking about some pregnancy nutrition. That being said, I'm not going to cover everything nutrition-wise because we could be here for a very long time if I do that. We're just going to be covering the 3 macronutrients, are what they're called. So those are your proteins, your fats, and your carbs. So the first thing you need to know about pregnancy nutrition is that you are not eating for 2. I know that that's something that's thrown around and it's kind of a funny little joke. Not only is that wrong, it's actually bad advice. And it would also be very difficult for most women to accomplish. That's just a lot of calorie intake. What we are talking about is how you should be increasing some of your nutrition intake in certain places. As far as calorie intake, you'll only be increasing by about 300 calories per day by the end of your 3rd trimester. So it's not a whole lot. It's all about having the right ratio of certain macronutrients to others. So first, let's talk about healthy carbs. So carbs tend to get a really bad rap, but they're actually really important for a lot of different things. They're important to boost your energy level, help support gut health by feeding the good bacteria that are in your gut. They also support adrenal and thyroid health, which is all really important while you're growing a baby. The thing with carbs is that there are a lot of really, really bad forms out there. So those are what you've heard of referred to as your empty carbs. And I don't want you increasing those. Actually, if you can have none of those, that would be really great. So sources that I want you getting your carbs from are going to be root vegetables. So that'll be your sweet potatoes, red potatoes, and then also whole grains. So that would be your brown rice, quinoa, buckwheat, things like that. Fresh fruits and veggies also have a lot of really great healthy carbs for you. And on top of that, fruits and veggies have a ton of other vitamins and minerals that are really important. Like I said, I'm not going to go over all of that today, but those are really important. So especially with your fresh veggies, especially the dark green leafy veggies, broccoli, bell peppers, things like that, those all are a really great source of folate. But like I said, I'm not going over all that, so I'll leave that there for today. Next, we're going to talk about protein. So protein I have found to be one of the biggest challenges in my pregnancy, just because I was never a big meat eater to begin with. And then now, my midwife, when she told me the fact that I need to start eating between 80 to 110 grams of protein per day, that was a huge awakening for someone who has a huge source that I really don't love with meat. So I've had to find other sources of protein that would be good for me. Protein's incredibly important for a ton of different reasons. It lowers your risk of preeclampsia. It helps with morning sickness. Protein also acts as the building block for things like skin, hair, nails, muscles, bones, basically everything in your body. Every cell in your body requires protein. So you want to make sure that your baby has a ton of it so that he or she can grow. So some of the best sources of protein are going to be your wild-caught seafood. So that's your wild-caught Alaskan salmon, things like that. Eggs, quinoa, nuts, seeds, pastured poultry, grass-fed beef, chickpeas, so hummus is a good source as well. And then also your beans, like your legumes and things like that. All really great sources. Make sure you start incorporating those into your diet better. And my little cheat that I have had to use, since meat is not my favorite thing, especially when I had morning sickness, I couldn't stand any sort of meat, was I had to find a really good, clean protein powder. So the protein powder that I have liked using is called Garden of Life. We can find it at the co-op here. It's a little chalky. It's not my favorite protein powder, but you can make it work, especially in the name of building a healthy baby, right? So the last of our macronutrients that we're going to talk about are your healthy fats. Fats are really important because they stand as your building blocks for cholesterol and also hormone production, which is really important for a healthy baby. You also have 2 important essential fatty acids, which are your EPA and DHA, that are really important for brain and organ development. A good level of DHA is also linked to lower preterm labor risk. So as far as healthy fats go, you want to make sure that you're getting anywhere from around 60 to 80 grams per day, depending on how many calories you are consuming and also how much you weigh. A big thing that I want to point out is that you really should be avoiding the words low fat and no fat foods. Even though it kind of sounds good, it's really not good for you at all. It affects your progesterone levels, which is really important for keeping a healthy baby. We also have the fact that, back when low and no fat foods started, they didn't add certain things, so they kind of tasted like cardboard. But now low fat food, a lot of times you can't even tell the difference. And that's because they add a lot of other sugars and just chemical junk in there that is not good for you. So make sure that you're not eating those low and no fat foods. Good sources of healthy fats are going to be avocados, of course, wild caught fish, macadamia, and walnuts, and then also organic butter. And the last thing isn't really a nutrient, and it's definitely not a macronutrient, but water. Make sure that you are drinking tons and tons of water. Your blood volume increases significantly when you're growing a baby, and you have to hydrate to support that. So I have a few of my best tips for making sure that we hit all these healthy eating points while you're pregnant. The first is going to be to meal plan. And this is generally a good idea for anyone who's trying to eat healthy, but especially when you're pregnant, make sure that you take the time to meal plan. It's going to make things much, much easier for you throughout the week. Second tip is to make sure that you don't skip meals. If you skip a meal and you end up hungry, a lot of times that's going to trigger other issues like morning sickness or just overall feeling really crummy. So just don't skip meals. You'll feel a lot better if you don't. The next tip I have is don't skip your prenatal vitamin. So even if you're eating really healthy off of the list that we're giving, make sure that you're not missing any little things, any of those little nutrients and vitamins that you really need during your pregnancy. Just take your good prenatal vitamin. And the last tip that I have is to have good, healthy pregnancy snacks on hand at all time. I have this state of existence that I call emergency hungry, and it happens if I get hungry and I don't feed myself within the 5 to 10 minutes that I feel that initial hunger pang. I feel so sick. I feel like I'm going to throw up, and that makes it harder to eat, which is what I need to do to undo the sickness. So make sure that you have those snacks ready to go so that you don't reach that point of sickness. So there you have it, our best pregnancy nutrition tips and tricks to keep you and your baby healthy through your pregnancy. Make sure you subscribe to our Buns in the Ovens newsletters below, and we'll look forward to seeing you